Hi, everyone. So so I will be talking about Kullat, which we pronounce them the same, but actually in our language, I will explain it later, has a bit different meaning, but it's a kind of towers that if we translate it literally, it says towers, but it's not really. You will see. First of all, Kosova boasts a rich tapestry of architectural heritage, reflecting its diverse history and cultural influences over the centuries. From ancient times to modern eras, various types of structures have dotted its landscape, each telling a unique story of craftsmanship, tradition, and social values. Some of the types of the buildings constructed during different historical periods in Kosova include stonet, as we call them, are kinds of shelters, kastolet or cottages, shtëpit përdes or courtyard houses, shtëpit mnakat me çardak, houses with verandas. So çardak is this specific type of verandas. Kullat or towers, or you will see. Kishat ve xhamiat or churches and mosques. Hamamet, Turkish baths. Hanet or inns. Kështjellat, castles, kalot, fortresses, and türbet are mausoleums, which are for Beşiktaşism. I don't know if you've heard, is type of Islam, but like a cult thing.
And all those words we are more or less using in our language as Orientalism. So.
Yes. Okay, so moving on to Kullat. Kullat are traditional residential structures built between the beginning of 18th century till the mid-20th century, primarily in western and southern Kosovo, as well as northern Albania. Here we can see some types of kullas, but I will be talking about the architecture later. So these towers is a type of fortified home that was extensively built in specific historical conditions and had specific purposes. Material conditions influenced a person with good financial means to build a tower that would serve as a residence for personal defense and protection of wealth. Such a tower is also Isa Boletini's tower in Mitrovica, is the one down here. On the right side. So we know Isa Boletini was a politician from Kosovo that had to protect himself from enemies since he was quite famous. Then moving on to architecture, when we talk about kullas in Kosovo and Albania, we are talking about buildings that are divided in 3 floors. You can see some in 4 floors, but it's more common 3 floors. And the ground floor was for animal stables and storages, usually food storage, because the temperatures were low because of the walls and the building materials. Then the first floor was the kitchen, although I've seen some in my region where I'm from. It's called Has. We have some kullas that the kitchen was at the ground floor as well, but it's more common to be on the first floor. And we have sleeping rooms or quarters on the first floor. And then the top floor is for special rooms that are called Oda. Oda is commonly the largest internal space, and it is decorated the most when we compare it to other rooms. And it was usually decorated with wood, so wooden carvings and tapestries and other ornaments. It is also often expressed externally through carved stones sections. The Oda, and by extension the Kulla, exemplify another integral part of Albanian tradition, which is hospitality. So when guests would come to one of these buildings, to these families, they would be placed in Odas because, as we know, Albanians are really famous for their hospitality. And another interesting thing about Oda, so this is you don't have this is an example of Oda, and usually the like head of the family would sit here, and then they would separate like guests on one side and the people from that house on the other side. And then out of respect, the head of the family would move with the other part of the family and leave the guests to be like on the top of the room. Then we can also see here some stairs and two entrances. The reason why we had two entrances is because one of them was the main one for the family, for women to like go to their rooms or to cook or whatever. And then the other one was if men would go straight to Oda and they don't interact with women if they're in their rooms or they're going in the rooms or they're guests coming and they don't have to interact with other people that are in the house. Because when we talk about kulas, I know my parents used to tell me like they were living 30 people, 40 people in these kinds of buildings. And we're talking about my grandfather, his 4 brothers, and then their sons and their sons and daughters. So it's a huge family living here. And also we can see here different kinds of building materials, but most common is the stone, of course, because maybe also the sources of that region, but we can also see bricks. That's more common for the cities. So also the cities decorated their buildings more than the villages, but that's also another architectural thing. This one is in my region, Pas, and we can see because of the windows, which I will be talking about later, they're bigger because the time period it was built is later. And the last one, that one is in Deçan in Kosova. The second one is in Peja, and the first one, this one is in Albania. So this is what I was saying about word kula in Albanian. It means a defensive tower or fortress and has served as a shelter for temporary stays, for example, for people threatened by blood feuds. Then moving on to the facade, we can see these small windows or loopholes. The reason they were so small is because I told you it's a defensive tower. And so when the enemy would come and look at the facade, he would think the people standing in the inside, it's not possible for them to see him or shoot at him or whatever. But if you look in the inside, the windows go wider and they're bigger. And so they can place more weapons and they can see everything happening outside. When we talk about cultural significance, towers represent the resilience and the cultural identity of the Albanian population in Kosova. This is also important because I'm an architect, and the reason why I chose to deal with cultural heritage is because people don't understand that it's not only about architectural values or historical values or whatever, but even like a doctor or someone who doesn't understand these values, he can have something from it, because a building is also a living proof and fact of a nation, of a, I don't know, country or anything. So reading the building, we can read the history of anything, really, of society. Moving on to conflict impact, we know that during the conflicts in 1998, 1999, forces from Serbia destroyed or damaged more than 800 towers across Kosova. But not only the war, really. The problem in Kosova is also that people are losing senses of importance of these kinds of buildings. And so I know people from my town, they have these buildings from their parents, grandparents, or whatever. And instead of like taking care of them, they destroy it and build a new house there because it's a matter of property or whatever. But after the war, there was some kind of efforts been undertaken to preserve them and save them. So thank you.